Hey, Charlie, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, Michael.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear me? Was that a no, you cannot, or yes, you can?
No audio, no. Wait. Me. Try again.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, look at that success already.
We have the technology.
Is your camera working okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hang on here.
Nope.
It says I can't start video because the host has stopped it.
It did that to us yesterday too, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me take a look at it. I'm going to make you host, Michael, and then maybe you can turn your video on.
Okay.
And then that'll allow you to share as well.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, and then
that did the trick.
Awesome. So then you'll be host until I ask you for the controls back to go through mine.
Okay. And just familiarizing myself with how to hand that off to you.
Yeah, at the bottom, do you see where it says participants?
Yep.
And then it should say 2 right there.
Yep.
Click on that.
Okay, done.
That opens a little side panel. And then if you hover over my name, there's a button that says more with a drop down arrow.
Okay.
And just hit make a host.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. Hey, this cup, which is like a gallon coffee cup, is for you today, man.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. I'm gonna launch my PowerPoint here.
Cool. And still just the 2 of us. So
yeah.
I'll go through a little housekeeping in the beginning. And I'm going to have a little fun with your intro.
Absolutely. And I'm doing this in presenter mode, so my speaker's notes are kind of in front of me here. I hope that doesn't screw up when I share. We'll just have to see, huh?
Yeah. Are you going live? I mean, are you doing any kind of browsing at all, or it's all going to be right on your presentation, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what I would probably do is when you share, you can share just that application, PowerPoint. Okay. When I do live stuff, typically I'll share my desktop so I can bounce between 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think if you're not going to use Chrome or anything like that, I think you're fine just to share that particular application.
Okay.
Oh, and I think I closed all my stuff down,
Yeah, I'm in the process. I closed email. I'll close Skype.
Yeah. So, and we're all good.
Okay. Cool. Excited. This shirt look okay?
You look awesome, dude.
I had my hair done especially for today.
Yeah, well, it looks nice. Get that extra buff rag out.
Yeah.
I'm just playing.
I'm used to it.
It's one of the good things. My parents gave me a good head of hair, man.
Yeah, nah, no kidding.
My dad at 74 has just the start of a little bald spot right there, but otherwise he's still cloaked in, his coif.
Wow. My dad's 86 and he's still got a full head of hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't talk to him much.
A good reason.
It's like, hey, buzz off, old man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, he doesn't have your striking good looks though. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a hell of a guy. He's a great guy. He's still back in Montana. He lives in Helena with my sister. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
I don't know Helena, man. I spent a lot of time. One of my favorite ski resorts is Big Sky.
Oh man, yeah.
So I spent a lot of time in Big Sky, and gosh, I think there's a resort there called Moonlight Basin,
Yeah.
and I think I was like the second or third day they were open, I was able to ride Moonlight Basin. What are we going back? Maybe 15 years now, 20 years,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And at that time, you could buy, the two mountains connect, right? You could buy, Big Sky was at that time maybe what, $90 a day or something.
Yeah.
Moonlight Basin was like 50 or $60, and they were trying to get people to that resort. You could still access all of Big Sky, and you were paying, 60% the lift ticket or something like that.
Oh wow, that was a bargain, wasn't it?
So I lived in Vancouver, in North Vancouver, BC, for much of my young adult life,
Mm.
before being married with children. And my parents were in Wisconsin, where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So when I made that drive in the winter, I always planned a day of riding at Big Sky on the way through.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was we did back in the day. I did some websites for power sports in addition to financial services.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that was Arctic Cat. They had one of their dealer shows out there in West Yellowstone too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know that. I don't know Helena at all, but I know that area of Montana pretty well.
Oh, it's so pretty down there.
So
And of course it's on fire now. I mean, it's just everybody wants to be there.
yeah. I talked to a gentleman who he's still based out of Foothills Ranch, California, which is, gosh, I guess maybe South Orange County or something,
Mhm.
kind of just south, south of LA a little bit. Probably getting close to San Clemente. Anyway, he still has his base in Foothills Ranch, but he's moved up to Boise.
Oh
California is just kind of getting the heck out.
yeah, same thing. Boise blowing up.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Mhm. Another great town I've gotten a chance
Yeah.
to spend some time in. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. There's a Davidson branch there. We actually did quite a bit of work over there. We did some focus groups and it was cool.
Yeah. All right, man. We got a couple people showing up.
Okay.
Yeah. We got lots of registrations. I didn't check today, but yesterday we had 200, what did we say, 219, I think, once I made you a panelist.
Something like that. Yeah. It's exciting.
Good. We got, let's see, a couple people. Sean Dalton. Sean, how are you, man? And Adam, and man, just people coming on in, Michael.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll have a fun little presentation. I'm going to read the one you wrote me, but then I'm going to offer my own.
Okay.
We'll have a good
Fair enough.
We'll have a good time. Yeah. My good buddy Kurt Arnold. Kurt, Michael, you should know Kurt. Kurt's a good dude in Madison.
Okay, and I haven't met Kurt.
You should know Kurt. We'll make that introduction, or I guess I just made it.
Hey, Kurt.
Yeah. So we'll have some fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be fun.
Yeah.
How is it in Florida today?
It's good, man. It's the surf was a little blown out, so I couldn't get in the water, but it's good. It's hot like everywhere else.
Yeah.
Talked to my brother in Wisconsin today, and he said it's sweltering, and I said, do you have an ocean breeze? So it's sweltering here too, but with the ocean breeze,
Yeah.
It keeps it a little cooler. So nice to be finally home and settling back in, and I don't know, it feels like we're moving in again, so it's a little weird, but
yeah. That won't take long, I'm sure.
No, yeah, and I'm just like I got to surf for the first time in a year over this weekend.
Wow.
So with the exception of one fateful day trying to surf Lake Michigan. That was brutal, man.
Okay. Story for another day, maybe, huh?
Well, I'll tell you, 49-degree water. That probably says enough right there. But Like when you're out in Hawaii, right, you get these big waves, but they're like
Mhm.
15-second intervals, so like 15 seconds between peaks.
Mhm.
California is probably 12-second average. Florida is 7 or 8 seconds. Lake
Mhm.
Michigan, which is all wind waves. And Kurt, go ahead and head on up to Sheboygan, man. You can surf Lake Michigan. Michael, they were overhead waves. They were clean, but they were 3 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
Second interval. So you get crushed and you get up and you get your wits about you and you start paddling again. Okay, so on top of that, the wetsuit's like a radial tire, just so thick to stay warm in that water, and that 49 degrees will hit you in the face. And it was brutal, man. I am very happy to be back in the mid 70-degree waters of Florida right now.
Oh man, I bet you are.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was brutal. It was a great experience. So, hey man, we got some people rolling in. So we got my buddy Dan Phillips is here, and a couple names I don't recognize. Francois, welcome, and a whole bunch of people here. So Michael, they're starting to roll in. Like I said, you're a popular guy, man. This might be the most registrations we've had for a webinar in as long as I can remember. And because of that, I've only got the 100-seat subscription.
Oh.
So we might just max ourselves out today. We'll get everybody else the recording, of course, but now all of a sudden I think I have to upgrade my Zoom to the 500-seat webinar.
Okay. All right. Well,
all because you draw a crowd, man.
glad to be the one who pushed the ceiling.
Tailgate. Hey, Dan, listen, man, I would love to join you at a tailgate at Auburn. So I think probably Mindy shared with you, Dan. That's Michael. This is my buddy, Dan Phillips. I got a little dog barking in the background. I'll have to shut that up before we get going.
Okay.
We helped Dan with a little bit of content, but Dan has the same alma mater, Auburn University, as my in-laws.
Oh, okay.
So he's in Auburn now, and they've got a place on Lake Martin outside of Dadeville, about 20 miles from Auburn. So, Dan, I'm going to take you up on that this fall at some point. Yeah, so they must be very smart. They, I'll tell you, my mother-in-law is. Let's say my father-in-law married well. But then it's interesting because the rest of the family, we're in Florida. So I got one sister-in-law that was at University of Florida and then went to Alabama for law school. Another sister-in-law that went to FSU.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my in-laws at Auburn. My wife went to UCF. So I grew up in Green Bay. I don't know anything about college football, man. And all of a sudden, Saturdays are as intense as Sundays for me.
Oh man, intense is an understatement. It's crazy. Yeah.
Get crazy.
Fun though.
Yeah, for sure.
So fun.
Michael, we're right at 2:00. I'm gonna give it just a couple more minutes. The room's still filling up a little. So for those of you who have been on recent webinars of mine, no longer in an RV. Michael, you've been on a couple of those webinars.
Yeah.
That environment was so hard to control, whether it was Wi-Fi at the campground or my Verizon hotspot, acting fritzy or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great things about being home, home and more space and all that stuff, I miss the adventure of the road, but having a dedicated office space again is very, very grateful for that. So
cool. That's great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll give it another 60 seconds here, Michael, and then we'll get this thing cranking.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Those of you who have been on recent webinars, I like to be pretty casual with this stuff. It's an opportunity for me to introduce a good friend of mine and a guy I've got a lot of respect for. I won't go too deep. I don't want to get into the intro yet. But I'm just thrilled to have you here, man. I'm glad you could join us.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
So, all right, 2:02. What do you say we jump in?
Sounds good to me.
All right, Michael, you're already the host. This is being recorded, just so anybody's got to jump away. Everybody who registered for the webinar will get a recording when we're done. I think we're going to exceed probably I think our biggest attendance is maybe like 77, 78 so far. But Michael, based on the registrations we had, I think we'll probably beat that number before we're done here today. Okay, and here's how we're going to do this, right? Michael, mostly this is your show.
Okay.
I like to bring as much value as I can to my network. Listen, I'm going to give you a little wink when I say it's nice to get introduced to your network as well, for sure. But I'm going to read the intro you sent to me, and then
Okay.
I'm going to tear it up and I'm going to give my own. Okay.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Okay, everybody. Here's the intro Michael sent to me. Michael is the Chief Marketing Officer for Chief Outsiders, the nation's largest network of senior marketing leaders dedicated to helping companies, small and large, achieve their business growth objectives. I'm going to skip the next sentence, but you know what that next sentence is, Michael. It doesn't matter if anybody else does, because I'm going to get back into that in a second.
Okay.
These days, Michael works with companies in wealth management and financial planning, technology, and healthcare to help position them for success. Branding is one of Michael's areas of focus, so I'm pleased he's here today to share his insights with you. Okay, you can't go yet. Still my turn, Michael. Now, I skipped a little section where Michael prompted me for how we know each other, but of course, I don't need to read what he wrote for that part. I want to tell you that, as many of you might know, I got started working with advisors in 1998. I just stumbled across this little technology company in Duluth, Minnesota at that time, 50 below. And the technology that we were offering was pretty rudimentary. I don't need to go into that, but we sponsored a lot of events. And one of the organizations that we were a part of and were contributed to with sponsorship dollars was SIFMA. For those of you not familiar, I think Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, Securities Industry Financial Market Association.
Exactly.
So Michael and the company he was with at the time, D.A. Davidson, also sponsored SIFMA events. So we know each other. I think we tried to figure out yesterday, going back at least 20 years.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Michael, at that time, I was like a 26, 27-year-old kid, totally outclassed, or I felt I was outclassed. I was young in my career. Of course, I knew my stuff as well as anybody in that room, but I didn't really know financial services well at that time. You at the time were one of the people that you had an open door for me, and I have to tell you now, 20 years later, how much I appreciate that. Because I'm this young kid trying to get ingrained in this new industry. I knew my technology side well, but again, the industry's really got a lot of subtleties, the compliance aspects of it and these things, right? So you were so generous to me as I was getting started in my career when you were at Davidson. I don't know how many times it was that you and I would get on the phone just because I had questions to come up to speed on industry related things. So 20 years later, I've probably said it over the years, but thank you very much for being that kind of mentor role to me as I was getting ingrained. Now, so Michael, you were awesome back then. Now you left our industry for just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll share with our audience here that continues to grow, by the way. I'll share with our audience that Michael left the industry for a little while to work in healthcare industry with a startup.
Right. Yes.
I didn't ask him. I'm shy to ask him. I don't think anybody else here should either, but they sold that company. So Michael left one guy, came back a totally different guy, right? So I don't know what that meant to Michael, but congratulations to you and the team at Loyal for getting that over the finish line. That was awesome. Thrilled to have you back on an independent role within our industry. Michael Morrison, you guys, is like a brilliant branding mind, and so I brought him here today in an effort to bring value to my network. And bring some tips on how to grow, how to position your brand for growth. Of course, the stage we get involved with advisors is really after they've established a lot of that branding, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today too, but this is mostly your show, Michael. So, before I let you go, again, I want to say thank you for joining us today. Michael's a 20+ year veteran of our industry and other industries in helping independent advisors establish a brand that is designed around growth and specific audience and value. And so he's going to bring with us a wealth of knowledge. And no doubt you're going to walk away learning a few things. So do yourself a favor if you can. We're going to be probably 45 minutes or so today, 45, 50 minutes, depending on Q&A. And if you do have questions, of course, you can either hit it in the chat or there's the Q&A button. Hit me up. I'll be monitoring that question stuff while Michael's talking. And if we got anything pressing, Michael, do you mind if I kind of stop you where you're at?
That's fine. You bet. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. With that, I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna close down my video. Michael, the show is all yours. Let me know if you need anything as you're going, man.
Okay. Terrific.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll get this rocking and rolling here. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. First of all, Charlie, thank you so much for that gracious introduction. That was terrific. It's always a thrill for me to be able to spend time with financial advisors. And I want to apologize in advance because this is actually the first time I've given this particular presentation, other than to my wife. And there's so much information here that I want to share with you that I don't want to leave anything out. So I'm going to be reading a lot of this from the speaker's notes, and I hope you'll bear with me. I sort of hate it when that happens. I'm watching a webinar and the speaker isn't looking at me, but I'll make every effort to make eye contact when I can. So thank you very much in advance for your patience. I love spending time with financial advisors. I love looking for ways to distinguish their businesses or practices, finding ways to drive engagement with clients and prospective clients, and to grow. If you're here today, you registered for a presentation titled Advisor Branding for Growth. So I'll take a wild guess and assume that you don't need me to persuade you that creating and building your brand is a key to outsized growth. Better yet, it's growth that aligns with your values and the way you want to conduct your business. Today, we'll be talking about how advisors can go about assembling the insights and information that go into the development of a business building brand, the growth strategy those insights support, and the execution of that strategy to run a better business and grow relationships with your existing and with new clients. During today's presentation, I'll be sharing my own experiences over the last 25 or more years. I started in the industry when I was 7, helping financial advisors pin down their practice identities and then present those identities in ways that connect with clients and prospects, opening the door to more rapid growth. Just as important, I'll point out the many other business and personal benefits that well-defined brands almost always experience. But before we get going, I need to make sure we're all on the same page when it comes to defining brand. The expression gets used a lot these days, it seems, especially these days. A brand is not a clever name or a logo or a tagline or ad campaign. A brand is not your website or the great video you posted there. And it's not the brochures or sales sheets you use to help demonstrate your credentials and expertise. These are all expressions or manifestations of the brand, but they're not the brand. I'm sharing with you here 3 very familiar brands that I'm sure you recognize, and what they call their brand mantra. For Nike, it's authentic athletic performance. For Apple, think different. You think about think different. You know, before Apple, nobody thought about having 1,000 songs in their pocket. Nobody thought about taking the best photographs of their lives with their phones. That's the product of an ethos that is dedicated to thinking differently. Starbucks, to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. Strong brands are intentional. They consider the motives that launched the business, the values and principles of the people who created or who must now preserve the enterprise. Brands consider their customers or clients. Who are they? What do they care about? What are they afraid of? What are their experiences with us like? Are they ecstatically happy? Or could another advisor step into your role without so much as a ripple?
Hey, Michael,
Yeah.
question for you. This comes up from John. John basically asking if you can elaborate on what you mean when you say that a logo or a website are representations of the brand, but not actually the brand themselves.
Sure. Yeah, great question. And that really comes up often. Very often, I know when there are practices or businesses really of any kind, they're in that fun stage of development the creative stage, where they're imagining what their name ought to be or what their logo ought to look like. And it's really easy to get wrapped up in those images because, you know, they matter, right? They're what people remember. But honestly, when you see that swoosh or when you see that siren in the Starbucks logo, the feelings those images evoke are really your brand. So it's really about the feelings you engender with the people you serve. And that can be the people you serve or the community you operate in, where you have a reputation, hopefully for excellence, hopefully for domain expertise and thought leadership, hopefully for advocacy for the people you serve and people who look like them. I hope that answers your question, John.
Great. Thanks, Michael.
Every practice or brand or business has a brand. The best practices know what their brand stands for, and it informs every decision they make. From who they hire to the fund managers they consider. It guides decisions about expansion or acquisition, and it influences every interaction between the practice and anyone outside the practice. Practices that are intentional about their brands have set a firm foundation for the way they manage the business, the way they interact with their clients and communities, and the way they approach marketing and client acquisition. On the other end of the spectrum, practices that are not thoughtful or intentional about their brands are, honestly, letting their clients, their competitors, and the market decide what their brand is. They may be doing a fine job. Their clients and colleagues might value them and their expertise. They might even be getting client referrals. But because they're not driving the boat, so to speak, they're not in control. They're unable to fully leverage the client goodwill and domain expertise to make themselves more visible and more valuable, and less susceptible to misinterpretation or client attrition when things don't go as expected. Brands are valuable too. Let's take a look at some great brands. You recognize all of these companies, and I'm sure every one of them elicits some kind of feeling, like I was just talking about. Probably a positive one. Maybe not. Maybe you're a Chevy person, or maybe you don't care for scents, but like at Chanel. But all of these companies are publicly traded. And in every instance, a substantial portion of their market capitalization is attributable to the brand, the value of the brand. In other words, these companies' reputation for consistency, their dedication to excellence, and their devotion to delivering a desirable and predictable client or customer experience has made these companies some of the most valuable companies on earth. These companies are all fiercely protective of their brands because they know the brand itself is one of their most valuable assets. That's why companies like Disney, Apple, Nike, and others have legions of attorneys protecting their brands and their representations from being diluted or corrupted by copycats and lookalikes. Of course, you know, we're not talking today about global mass market brands. We're talking about branding for financial advisors and their practices or partnerships. The scale, of course, is different, but the principles truly are the same. The same branding principles and practices that work for these companies to drive goodwill and customer or client engagement will work for you too. I've shared a few statistics here on this slide about from Broadridge Advisor Survey that advisors with well-defined brand-driven marketing plans are 71% more likely to acquire significantly more clients. They gained many more clients over social media. They generated 2 times more leads per month from their websites, and were more likely to have adapted to changing consumer behavior. So you can see right there, if you're getting those kinds of performance improvements and the business results that must drive, that right there is adding value to your practice.
Hey, Michael, can I jump in here a second?
Yeah.
I got a great question from Sarah, and this is a question that comes up, and I think that, you know, from a branding and marketing perspective comes up a lot. How does having a well-defined brand help drive improved business development performance?
What it does, Charlie, and I'm sorry, what was the name of the attendee who
Sarah.
asked?
Sarah. Yeah.
Sarah, that's a really good question. The reason is when you're coming from brand the way that in the context that we're establishing here today, you're coming from a place of strength and conviction. You have a point of view. So with that kind of conviction, you just present a more compelling case to the market. And you can be really precise about the communications that you conduct. You can be really targeted about who you reach out to and the message you're going to be sharing with them. I'll be a little deeper in the presentation today. I'll be elaborating on this. And if I don't answer your question, I hope you get back to me. But essentially, it's because you're operating from a place of strength and conviction, and you have a point of view. And that, as long as you're taking care of the blocking and tackling, so to speak, that will yield better results. A big part of that too is being systematic, not just random, not just marketing or working on business development when you think about it or when you have time. It becomes a part of your business, part of your practice. Okay.
Thank you.
Getting started. Okay, first of all, you need to set some time aside, some serious time. Don't get lulled into the notion that branding is a leisurely game of softball for your next team meeting. Authentic branding calls for a deep examination of your business and its people and practices. This wheel here shows the process that I observe. It begins with insights and analysis. Those insights and analysis inform a strategy and a plan that you then execute and monitor to see how it's performing. And then the process starts all over again. So the brand gives you a core, a foundation for performance. And as you execute against your strategy, it drives you in a circular, what I like to think is a virtuous cycle of continual improvement and business growth. More on that later. Looking internally, you need to be brutally honest and thorough in examining your strengths and weaknesses. Are there areas where you can confidently say, we do this exceptionally well? Well, then make sure you note that as a strength. Are there areas where you say, we're okay at this, or we could do better, or even, I'm not sure how well we do this? It's better to be safe and list those things as weaknesses so you can give some thought to what you're going to do about them. As best as you can, consider your strengths and weaknesses from your client's perspective. Put yourself in their shoes. Remember, your practice and its brand are not great because you say they are. They're great because your clients say they are. The best brands became what they are because they understood what they wanted to mean to their clients and customers and did the things they needed to do to make that happen. Next, look outside your practice at the opportunities that exist in your marketplace and the threats that could stymie your success at seizing those opportunities. Study your market, your competition, and your clientele. Are there opportunities for growth among certain client types or professions? Are nearby areas experiencing population growth? How do you leverage your strengths to attract attention and drive engagement? Then consider your weaknesses. And remember, as I said, in a lookalike industry like financial services, anything that is just as good as the next practice should probably be listed as a threat. Unless you can honestly promise a superior experience, it's not a strength. Finally, write down why you got into financial planning or wealth management in the first place. What gets you up and out of bed, eager to go to work every day? How do you want people to feel when they think about you and your practice? If you could change the world, what would that new world look like? What does your clientele look like? What's the average age and wealth per household? How are your clients' assets invested generally? How many heirs do they have? And do they have a relationship with you? Or could they? Remember what I said earlier about trying to put yourself in the shoes of your clients? At that early stage in the development of your brand, or the process that we're describing here today, it's important to engage in that kind of empathy as you think about your practice and how your clients experience it. But that's not enough. To really get the client perspective, you have to speak directly to the client. Now, as you might imagine, most clients would be uncomfortable being completely transparent if they're asked to speak directly to you or another member of the practice. That's why at this stage, you really do need to find a suitable third party to facilitate those conversations. Ideally, you'll know a professional communicator from the marketing or maybe legal professions who can develop a rapport with your clients and then probe for their recollections and their opinions. These conversations can yield some valuable insights into the ways clients searched for and selected you in the first place. I recommend speaking to no fewer than 3 clients and their partners. 5 or more is better. They should represent your most desirable kinds of clients, and at least one should be one of your more challenging clients. I've been doing this for more than 25 years, and this right here is one of the most rewarding parts of the entire process. It's a great way for a practice to express its gratitude to the clients who are being interviewed, and almost invariably, it yields strengths and opportunities the practice didn't even know about. At their essence, brands are a reflection of your relationship with your clients. Their voice is essential to understanding who you are and what you stand for.
Michael, before you go on to the next slide, I've got a question here from Mark.
Okay.
This is a good one. I'm curious. All right. Mark, hopefully I can get this out right. So Mark says, we've been working with the same clients for years. They enjoy frequent, honest, sometimes intimate conversations with those clients. Michael, you know, they've known them for 20, 25 years. They know them well. Is it really a necessary step to pull the clients around the brand?
You know, that's a great question, and it's a question I hear a lot. Thank you very much for that. It can be easy to assume that we as people with a close professional relationship with clients, that we really know what they value about us. But the truth is, until they think about it in a outside the context of their dealings with you, a client can never really fully articulate, and you can never really fully absorb all of the things that you might mean to them, or all of the things about their relationship with you that they value. And it's in marketing, we refer to, in any industry, quite honestly, you're inside the bottle, so to speak. And it's impossible for you to fully comprehend the experiences and the impressions that your clients have. So what you'll find, and I can almost guarantee this, is that when you've got a capable interviewer having a frank conversation with your clients, you're going to learn something about what they think of you, what they think about their relationship with you and their experiences with you that you would never have imagined. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so let's recap. At this stage in the branding process, you've thought about why you do what you do and what you want it to mean. You've closely examined your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You've also gathered insights from your clients. Along the way, you've probably made some uncomfortable discoveries, but you've uncovered some exciting opportunities for growth too. After the insights portion of the process, you should know yourself and your practice better than ever before. Now is the time to ask yourself if you and the practice are exactly what you want it to be. If so, great. If not, what changes do you need to make so your practice looks and feels more like what you hope for? And remember, these don't need to be big changes, but if they are big, say your current average wealth per household is 500,000 and you want it to be 2 million. Now's the time to set a course in that direction. Essentially, your brand strategy defines three fundamental components: who you, your practice, and your brand are and what makes you special; who you serve, who you aim to serve, and the experiences they expect and love; and the qualities you will project to connect with them, to enrich your existing relationships and create opportunities for new advisor-client relationships.
And Michael, I'll pause you there before your next slide also. I guess it's more of a comment from Sam. Thanks for joining us, Sam, my old buddy. It is a perfect segue into your next slide. So I had to stop you for timing there before you jumped onto the next one.
Okay.
So Sam's wondering if you could briefly talk about how the insights that you're gathering through these initial stages, you know, looking at your values, polling your clients and things along those lines, how do you turn all that information into a strategy? And I can see the execution of bringing your brand to life is the next slide. So I want to make sure that I got this question, but how do you convert all this information you've gathered into a strategy, into a brand strategy?
Right. Well, first of all, I didn't know that you all were seeing the preview slides. I apologize for that. I should probably be sharing a different screen. But hey, I'm this far. I'm just going to keep doing it. So the answer to that question, thank you very much, Sam, for asking that question, is hopefully by now you've gotten the sense that it's not enough to brand what you got and say that it's relevant to the market you want to serve, because really the brand is an honest statement of truth that your practice truly is skillful enough, staffed enough, knowledgeable enough to serve the unique requirements of the market you want to serve. So it's really an exercise in self-examination and improvement. So if you see that that's why we talk about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You need to make sure that your business is calibrated to be the right practice for the people you want to serve. So that calls for certain operational adjustments, maybe some hiring realignments, some staff realignments, some investments in professional development, things that you need to do to make sure you're geared precisely to the expectations of the market you want to serve. So that by the time you're ready to execute your strategy, you can be very specific about what it is that makes you valuable, because you know it and you know you can deliver on it. What your market cares about, and really focus on their pain points there. You know, as I mentioned here, address the fears, pains, ambitions, and aspirations of your most desirable clients. You know, very often in wealth management and financial planning, you know, we'll see, you see boilerplate copy about helping people retire comfortably or helping make sure their income lasts through their retirement. And that's fine. But very often there are other subtler, more nuanced things that investors are curious about or afraid of, worried about, keeping them up at night. By doing your homework and understanding what's keeping your clients and prospects up at night, you can offer information and educational material and insights and support to demonstrate not only to your existing clients that you want to help, but to the market in general.
Yeah, love that. And Michael, I'm going to tell you, I'm glad I can see the next slide. I'm glad I can see the preview because I could get that question in right at the right time.
Okay, good. I guess it worked out okay.
Worked out good. Thank you.
Okay, right. So let's recap. At this stage in the branding process, okay, let's see. Okay, great. Ready to move on. So, with a carefully researched, thoroughly informed awareness of who and where you are and the people you want to serve, you're ready to begin building out the principles, policies, and procedures you'll use to project an image of your own making into the marketplace. An image that's grounded in reality and in your client's own experiences. Kind of like I just said, an image with parameters for behavior, how you conduct your business, how you market, who you target, what you say, and communications that are on brand. From here, you're ready to begin developing and executing your brand and growth plan. Your plan will lay out in specific time-driven terms what you and your team will do to promote the brand and accelerate growth. Your plan will probably include several different initiatives that might include a new or revised, updated practice website. Ideally, your website will have content-driven lead capture capabilities, maybe new practice collateral and sales sheets. You'll start thinking about the content that you can develop to help make your market smarter, more financially secure. And that might come in the form of thought leadership or other investor education or entertainment content. Then you'll start thinking bigger, like what is your content strategy? What are the kind of things, now that you develop the brand, you're going to have a point of view. You're going to have things that you want your market to do so they're safer financially, so they're better positioned for success financially. So when you're thinking in those terms about serving your clients, serving your market, then it makes, sitting with your team and developing ideas for content becomes an exercise in service. It becomes fun. And at the same time, it helps ensure that the information that you're sending is valuable. People care about it. It's relevant. That's how you position. That's how you leverage your brand to position yourself for growth. Of all of these, social media and content-driven database marketing are probably the most efficient and effective ways to leverage your brand's value and create opportunities for growth. I say that because like never before, digital media gives you almost immediate visibility into how the message is resonating. How many people are opening, how many people are clicking, how many people are registering for your webinar. Thank you all for being here today. Those are all very immediate indicators of whether you're on track or not. And it appears as though there's a lot of interest in advisor branding for growth. So that's great. Anyway, the digital media and the social media and database, content-driven database marketing elements that I referred to earlier are why I'm so glad to be able to share the stage today with Charlie, because Charlie's been killing it in that space ever since he before he launched Social Advisors, but with his own company, Social Advisors, he's really taken it to a new level, and he's about to take it to a whole nother level still. So I'd really like to turn it over to Charlie now for a little bit and have him take the stage.
Yeah, sure. Let me can make me a host there, Michael.
You are the host, my friend.
All right, great. So a little bear with us for a second while we transition, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about content marketing and the content marketing opportunity. As you're talking about, I don't know if anybody's familiar with this book, Traction. Michael, is that one you know?
No, it's not. I'm noting it right now.
This is a wonderful book, and it's not really about brand. I mean, it's in part about brand, but largely it's about structure. It's about internal structure, but a huge portion of that is your brand. We go through Traction. I think we've done it twice in our 8 years. Mm-hmm. Probably been twice in the last 4 years. But what it is it's a whole exercise that gets outside of brand. But the way it pertains to brand is it's all about setting your values, right? It's all about identifying the values that feed your brand. But one thing that that really kept coming to mind as you were talking was it's not only our values that feed our brand, but all of a sudden those elements, that the way you define yourself becomes your entire decision-making process.
Right. Yeah.
The first time we went through that, it was all about, okay, so now the values we have go into our hiring.
Right.
We're in a luxurious place we work with clients we want to work with, right? We've got a good position where we're able to do that. A lot of companies can't do that. Right. But now do those values apply to our client base? So all of a sudden, not only brand, but everything stems from that. So that's pretty cool. So you kind of closed there on content marketing and database marketing. And I, of course, we prepped and we talked a little bit before we got set up for this. So I don't want to.
What? No.
Oh, we didn't practice. But so, the content marketing opportunity on LinkedIn is ridiculous. It really is. I'm going to dive into that a little bit here. I've got a few slides prepared. It's just going to take a couple minutes. We are a company that helps, not only helps advisors identify who that target niche audience, and I'm not talking about doctors, that's a focus group, right? That's a target audience, but who's the niche within that, right? Where do they work? What hospital? So we help advisors really drill down into who it is they want to speak to. The brand's a big part of that. And then leveraging platforms like LinkedIn, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and others, but LinkedIn is the biggest content marketing opportunity available to advisors. So what I'm going to do is just share a couple slides about that. I'll warn you, we do have a piece of software I'm going to introduce you to as well. And then we'll give this back over to Michael in just a moment here. Give me 1 second. Share screen. Okay, cool. Get all these things out of the way. So the content marketing on LinkedIn, the opportunity is ridiculous. Those of you who have sat on some previous webinars of ours have seen some of this information before. Before I dive in, I want to tell you that social advisor services, the financial services industry, it's an industry I've known well for 20 plus years. We actually have 5 business partners. So we've got 6 agencies globally that we work in some of our initiatives with. Now, none of those folks are in financial services. In fact, 3 are in the US, 2 in the UK, 1 in Australia. And what's cool about when I get together with these 5 agencies is it's bad to be the smartest guy in any room. I am definitely not the smartest guy in that room. So we work with some really significant agencies. I think my friend Adam Houlihan in Australia is probably our biggest partner in this. We recognized quite a while ago, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago maybe, the content marketing opportunity on LinkedIn. Our goal is to help advisors, once they've developed their brand and they've got their marketing assets built out around that brand. Now we work on helping to make those advisors influencers over a very specific network. This is where content marketing comes in for getting that brand in front of the right people. First off, if any of you had a sales guru throughout your career, it's very likely they told you that you need to touch a prospect 10 to 14 times, or 7 to 15 times, or 8 to 16 times, right? I think that is very different today than it was even 10, 12 years ago before we kind of had the social media revolution. Maybe it's longer than that ago. I met my wife on MySpace and we've been married for 14 years. So maybe it's a little bit longer than 10 years, but suffice it to say, I think that those numbers, 7 to 14, 8 to 16, whatever those numbers are, I think you can put a 10x behind that, right? We are so inundated with media now. The last stats I read were we are exposed to, just as a consumer today, we're exposed to between 5 and 10,000 advertising impressions every single day. So I really believe that when you're prospecting somebody, that 7 to 14 touches, it might be 70, it might be 100, it might be 150 touches. A really easy way to be in front of people that often is social media marketing, is content marketing. And specifically for those of you who are after a professional audience, LinkedIn, right? There's, multiple times a week that people will come out and they'll send me a message that say, hey, Charlie, I love that post about this one thing. I never even knew who this person was. They don't interact with any of your content. But if you are consistently growing a network and you're putting good content on LinkedIn, rest assured you are reaching people that you didn't even know you were reaching, right? So do that consistently. Here's what the opportunity is on LinkedIn. Now, these are real live. The stats on the top there, 9 billion content impressions. That's a screenshot from LinkedIn. That's their stat. Now that's global, right? 9 billion content impressions every single week on LinkedIn. Now, about 1/3 of their network resides in North America, or at least US and Canada. So about 3 billion of those content impressions happen in the United States and Canada. Here's what I can tell you. Now, we do a lot of research, like I said, with these 5 partners of ours. Less than 2% of people on LinkedIn are posting with any consistency. Okay, I mean, that's a really small number. So within North America, or within Canada and the US, 2% of their network are sharing over 3 billion content impressions weekly, not monthly, weekly. When I say 2%, that a lot of that 2% are just people that are sharing content maybe once a month. So we get that stat from every 30 days, right? So we can do that research right within LinkedIn. So anyway, there's a ton of impressions out there, and there's a very small amount of people using LinkedIn that are actually sharing content consistently. So if you don't have a content plan around your brand on LinkedIn, let me give you a couple of little pointers on how to get started with content. First off, the most important thing for you to think about, post content that is native to LinkedIn. Our industry is notoriously bad at content marketing, right? So if you use hearsay, let's say, for example, your firm might use hearsay, and then the firm goes and pre-approves a whole bunch of articles that you can just schedule for delivery. Now that's really simple, right? Or maybe there's, maybe your broker dealer approves a vendor that has FINRA reviewed or FINRA reviewed content available to you. Again, not the best content, because in a lot of cases, you've got vendors out there that have 50, 60, 70,000 clients all sharing the exact same content. So try to post content about you and your brand and your firm. And then native content, again, is content that is designed to be consumed directly on LinkedIn. For this to make sense, let me tell you, LinkedIn makes money in 2 ways that I'm aware of, right? They make money on premium services like Sales Navigator, and they make money through ad sales. LinkedIn's main objective as it relates to ad sales is to retain people on their platform. So this post on the left, which is a link to an article on CNN, and that was posted 1 week before I took the screenshot. You can see it didn't have any interaction. It had no likes, right? And part of the problem is that's just not interesting content for people. But the other part of the problem is, because it links people away from LinkedIn, because this particular user is doing their best to drive traffic to CNN.com, LinkedIn doesn't want to show that content to anybody. And there's a direct correlation between the retention of viewers and ad sales. So in an effort to maximize ad revenue, they don't want to show all that content that's available on hearsay that links to US News and CNN Money and maybe back to the firm website. LinkedIn doesn't want to show that to anybody because it works against their revenue objectives. The flip side of that is a post like this one. Raquel, this is of course something to be celebrated. She got her CFP. Congratulations, Raquel. But this was 6 days old, so about the same amount of time. Look at this one, 738 reactions, 148 comments. Now, people are going to celebrate this because Raquel's accomplished something wonderful here. The other thing is LinkedIn wants to show it to people. LinkedIn's looking for good content to show to people. So think about your content in terms of posting native content that keeps people on LinkedIn. That's going to help you right away. The other thing is, and we're all told this, right? But we are all told, pardon me a second here. We're all told that we need to storytell. And that's true. People are attracted to storytelling. Your brand story is a big part of that. If you're looking for inspiration, these 2 books are an awesome place to start. If you haven't read that, Storytelling for Financial Advisors, that's a really good one. And then Simon Sinek, love him. You could actually probably, if you follow that link to the TED Talk at the bottom there, you might not have to read the whole Start With Why, because his TED Talk is 16 or 17 minutes long, and it gives you a lot of that information. I don't want to confuse stories with analogies, right? So I worked with an advisor in a coaching capacity, and when we got together, when he was doing webinars or presentations of any sort, in closing and trying to close some new business out of his webinars, he would equate, the competitive landscape of the robo advisor, right? He would basically say, hey, would you rather get on an airplane that is on autopilot, or do you want to get on an airplane when you're traveling that has a pilot with all these years of experience, right? Him versus the robo advisors. And I said, listen, man, that's not a story, that's an analogy, right? So don't confuse analogies like that with stories. And if you're going to use stories and analogies in your content marketing and your sales, make sure people can relate to them, right? So anyway, two great resources for the content that you're building for LinkedIn. Now, the most important thing you can do when you share content on LinkedIn, take advantage of that opportunity that's out there, is understand the LinkedIn algorithm. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know everything going on with the LinkedIn algorithm because we've wrapped ourselves in this consortium of these other agencies globally. I can tell you that a lot of the research that we've done, I saw a question pop there, we'll get to that in a second. A lot of the research that we've done tells me without a question, the most important thing for your content to grow any kind of viral appeal is getting early interaction, right? So the first 2 hours after you post seem to be the hot spot. And I'd be looking for 15 likes and 15 comments in those first couple of hours. And when that happens, your content takes on really a viral appeal. So we did that research, we understood a little bit about it. We actually built software that helps you accomplish that so long as you've got good content. That software we call Post Party. You can learn more about it here, Social Post Party. Basically what this is it's a global community of content creators. I keep talking about these 5 partners we have. One of the reasons they're so important, other than just bringing different perspective and different experience to us, is we're all working to put users into this Post Party, and we're the only people putting financial advisors into it. So that's important that it's not all people from the financial services industry. But here's what Post Party is. It's a community of content creators. And again, it's a global community. There are standards to this community. We are protecting the integrity of this community. Everybody in there is working together to help the other members get mass exposure for their content. So if you go out and make a post on LinkedIn today, you might get 200 or 300 people to see it. You might get a little bit of interaction on it. When you put that post through Post Party, all we do is we've got scheduled times throughout the month that we post, and then we all interact with each other's content. When you put your same content through Post Party, you're gonna get 15 early comments from the other members in Post Party, and then you're expected to go interact with 15 people's posts when you post. What that does, it just puts this fuel behind the LinkedIn algorithm, so it gets your content in front of audiences that really, honestly, are 5x, and I've seen some posts do 25x. So it's really been a really highly successful piece of software and gaining much, much, much greater exposure for your content. And here's the cool part, it's 99 bucks a month, and you have no long-term commitment to it, right? It's month to month. So if you find that you're not taking part in it, the activity when you run a Post Party, you're gonna commit about 30 minutes to making that Post Party work for you. But anyway, Post Party is a piece of software that we designed working in concert with these other agencies, just to give your content that's really great, great exposure within your network. So it's been kind of better than we could have ever expected with it. So does LinkedIn see through the put the link in the comments trick if you're linking away from LinkedIn? John, that's a wonderful question. I'll tell you what, I don't think they do. Again, my advice to you was put native content out there, right? What John's asking is, instead of, can you still link to something like your website, or maybe a webinar recording, or, your YouTube video? A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll write a nice long abstract, they'll put their image on their post, and then they'll put the link right in the first comment. Right? So in that abstract, it says, hey, link to the webinar recording in the first comment. And John, I'll tell you what, it still works. So I'm a little surprised that LinkedIn's not seeing through that at this point, but it's a great question. And that is one way around still being able to link somewhere, but posting your native content. So if you want to link to something, don't put your link in the body of the post. LinkedIn will see that. Put that link in the first comment so that anybody who sees your post can still go to wherever it was you wanted them to go. So great question, John, absolutely. Let's see here, there we go. So these are just some examples. Those of you who've seen my past webinars, you've probably seen some of these posts, but this is a post here on CRM, and it's nothing special. This is from one of our business development members, Lori Ragg. Lori did a post on CRM, put it through Postcard. You can see what kind of interaction it got. This number, and of course it grew after that. So it probably reached 11, maybe 11.5 as far as exposure. But that's the type of results we're talking about, right? I mean, post party, all that is, the only reason that got so much exposure and interaction is because Lori put it through post party and LinkedIn gave it a great score and put it in front of a huge audience as part of, the majority of which is within her network. So, Michael, what I'd like to do is I'm going to give you host again in a second here so you can get to the, I want to get to your contact information. So anybody who's tuned in has got questions about branding or, need to talk about a website or, want some professional help in developing that brand and understanding the values behind that brand. I want them to certainly know how to get a hold of you. Before I do that, that is my cell number. So you can text me, you can call me, but please don't abuse me on it. So, cool. So let me do this. Let me stop the share. And Michael, I'm going to make you host again. And if you've got anything more that you, that you want to present, you can share your screen again.
Okay.
But there you are, sir. You are host again.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Charlie. And thanks also for that terrific information about how effective, particularly I'm thinking of LinkedIn, can be at helping an advisor amplify their message. And the wonderful alignment between that ability now that's available, affordably available to any advisor practice, if it's done within the context of a well-defined brand, a thoughtful, intentional brand, then the probability of the content you're posting actually resonating with the audience you care about is multiplied. And yeah. That's what drives the business results. So what digital media does for advisors today, particularly those who are intentional about their brands, is just give them a bigger stage to tell a story that there's an audience eager to hear. And I'm really glad you're helping them do that.
Awesome. Well, and I'll tell you, Michael, like even if you've got bad content, even putting it through post party, you're going to get your interaction right away. But if it's bad content, still not going to get, the huge exposure.
Right.
So the brand is such an important component of creating good content, understanding, the values and all that research that you did about your brand. Right. All that's got to come on your content as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to continue to show the stuff I didn't mean to show. So that's about it from me, everybody. Thank you a million times for joining us today. I hope you found the information valuable. Today, we learned that strong brands are intentional. They incorporate your vision for the business, the experiences of your clients, and they take a brutally honest look at your practice's strengths and weaknesses. We also talked about deciding whether the clients you have today are the clients you want tomorrow, and how branding can help you make the changes needed to navigate that transformation. We then talked about developing a strategy to leverage your strengths and minimize your weaknesses so you can pursue your opportunities and counter threats. Lastly, we talked about execution. Charlie covered that beautifully. The tactics that are available to make your brand more visible, more relevant, and more successful, especially with partners like social advisors. What you end up doing will be driven by how much time and money you have to devote to growth. For that reason, it's important to set measurable goals that include a return on your marketing investments. For your practice, that might mean one appointment with a prospective new client each week. For larger practices, it could mean many, many more. The point is to be deliberate. A systematic, consistent approach to client acquisition is the only way to know if your brand is getting the traction needed to accelerate your growth. If not, today's digital media makes it easier than ever to know what's working and what's not, so you can make intelligent decisions about what to do next. If you haven't already, I urge you to take the time to fully brand your business or practice. And if you feel like you've got a good, solid brand, that's great. Check with it periodically. Make sure you're being faithful to it. You'll enjoy your work more, you'll have a framework to inform all the tough decisions, and you'll foster deeper, more durable relationship with your clients, the ones you have and the ones you're going to have. And I'd love to help. So I'm offering a free advisor practice branding workbook to every webinar registrant who gets back to me this week. My email address is there, my direct phone number is there, and I'd welcome your connect requests on LinkedIn. It's been a real pleasure today. Charlie, I guess we're about out of time. I'm happy to field a question or two if there are any.
Yeah, we'll wait a second, see if there's any more that come in. I will say, you know, I take advantage of that workbook, right? The worst thing that happens is gain a little extra knowledge.
Right.
You got a great resource in Michael for any questions that you might have. And again, I've known you, Michael, 20, 21 years, whatever it is. I know your career spans a little bit before that. You mentioned at the top, you got started when you were 7.
Right.
Yeah. So going on 35 or something.
Yeah.
But wealth of information, been in the industry for a long time. So, you know, understands the plight of a lot of advisors and very helpful. So Michael, I don't see any other questions coming in.
Okay.
Man, let me again express my sincere gratitude. You know, you helped me out when I was young in my career. I appreciate that like crazy. I appreciate you being here and bringing a little value to my network and a little introduction to your network. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And let's do it again sometime soon, man.
Sounds good. Talk about your win-wins. Thank you, Charlie. This was great. I appreciate the exposure to your network and can't wait to do it again.
And Michael, one more. Dejwana did not get your email address. Well, read that off if you can one more time, Michael.
It's moutsiders@chiefoutsiders.com.
mmorrison@chiefoutsiders.com. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
I think if I can find it. There we go. chiefoutsiders.com.
You're welcome, Dejwana.
All right, there we go. So you want to copy and paste that, you can. So, all right. Yeah, Michael, thanks again. And I'm sure you're going to be hearing from a lot of people. We already got a couple notes coming in here. So I appreciate you being here, man.
Have a good one, Charlie. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.